Don't you dare sit before me, being just a wife. Mike's roar filled the room, and at that moment, a dull pain shot through my belly, now at 6 months pregnant. Ouch! An unfamiliar pain coursed through my stomach, and I crumpled to the floor. Madison, are you okay? Hey, what do you think you're doing? While my mother-in-law and father-in-law quickly came to my aid, Mike, used to defying his parents, didn't seem fazed at all. In this house, I'm the boss. I'm the smartest and most elite, that's why. His tone, dripping with scorn as if laughing at everyone present, made me angry, but I was too afraid of being hit again to talk back. Just then, someone said excuse me and sat down next to Mike. I watched intently as the person pulled a business card from their pocket and handed it to Mike. My name is Madison. I'm turning 29 this year. I used to work for a telecommunications company after graduating from college, but I quit this summer. I wanted to stay at the company a bit longer, but Mike had asked me to quit because he said, "I'll take care of you." The truth is, there was another reason why I quit my job. I was pregnant with Mike's child. Mike and I ended up in what you might call a shotgun wedding. Currently 5 months pregnant, I had to tell my colleagues it was because of the pregnancy and marriage. They were sad to see me go, but congratulated me on the marriage and pregnancy. I still feel blessed for having such wonderful colleagues. So, I do have some regrets about quitting my job at Mike's request. Mike's words always carried an absolute power. If you want to put it nicely, you could say he's full of confidence. If not, well, he's kind of pushy. Mike graduated from a very prestigious private university and went on to work at the mega bank Bank of America, following an elite path. He was assigned to the sales department, where his gift of gab helped him quickly climb the ranks, and right around when we were getting married, he was promoted to head of the sales department. Lucky for us, I'm excellent. Now the family's secure, he said, as if his promotion was the most natural thing in the world. Mike must have been pleased his efforts were being recognized, and at that time, I didn't give it much thought. After all, I had no inkling to doubt the man I was about to marry. But at that moment, I was still unaware of the kind of person Mike really was. I met Mike 2 years ago at a mixer that a friend had arranged. I was 27 then. As my friends were getting married one after another, I felt a sense of urgency without having a partner. Because of my personality, I couldn't take the initiative to talk to men, and I was always shy about love. So when a college friend I hadn't heard from in a long time contacted me, I jumped at the chance. The mixer was with 3 men and 3 women, and Mike was the oldest of the male group. They all worked at Bank of America, where my friend's childhood friend was employed. When I first heard that all the men were employees at a well-known bank, I was surprised. My 2 friends, who were more interested in money than I was, eagerly questioned the men and squealed with excitement. I felt somewhat out of place and was about to give up, thinking this might be another dead end. But, as luck would have it, Mike seemed to take a liking to me, hanging back while my 2 friends were in the spotlight. I was surprised when he asked, "Would you like to grab a drink after this?" Since Mike was also my type, I happily agreed with an enthusiastic yes. So, after the group date, we went out a few times, and after a confession from Mike, we started seeing each other. When I asked Mike why he hadn't gotten married yet, he'd always say, "Oh, you know, I've been busy with work." He must really love his job. Since I admire men who are dedicated to their work, I didn't mind it at all. While we were dating, Mike was always considerate, practicing chivalry and always putting me first. "Are you okay? Not tired from walking? Forgot your handkerchief? I have one, use mine. Look, your shoe's rubbing. Let me put a band-aid on for you." His perfect gentlemanly behavior had really impressed me. I thought maybe I could spend my life with this man. Even though our relationship had just begun, I was already dreaming about a future with Mike. Our relationship took a significant step forward about 2 months ago, a year and a half after we started dating. I had been experiencing some unexplained health issues for a while. I had headaches and nausea, and when I went to the doctor, they just said it was probably a cold, and I couldn't even work properly. Seeing my condition, Mike, who I was living with, said, "Madison, could you be pregnant?" Huh? His unexpected words threw me for a loop. But indeed, there were signs. I rushed to the pharmacy to buy a pregnancy test, tried it at home, and lo and behold, it indicated that I was indeed pregnant. I can't believe it. It looks like I'm really pregnant. See, I told you. You should go to the doctor. Yeah. Mike was trying to keep his cool, but his voice was louder than usual. I could tell he was excited. There was a baby inside me, our baby. I thought about it as I rubbed my belly. It made me feel an indescribable sense of affection. The next day, I went straight to the OB/GYN. The test confirmed that there was indeed a baby, and I was told I was 3 months pregnant. The doctor said, "It's surprising you didn't notice until now," but since Mike and I weren't married yet, pregnancy had been the furthest thing from my mind. But now, looking back, I realized that the strange malaise was morning sickness. After leaving the clinic, I told Mike that the pregnancy was going well. That so? His reaction wasn't what I expected. I thought he would be happier, but his response was surprisingly nonchalant, which caught me off guard. Mike, does this mean? Yeah, let's get married. He said it so casually that it was nothing like the proposal I had imagined. But I was thrilled that he suggested we get married, so I was too excited to fall asleep that night. But even then, the change in Mike had already begun. It was my fault I didn't notice. The next day, before going to work, Mike said to me, "I want you to quit your job before we get married." What? Quitting my job hadn't crossed my mind. The telecommunications company I worked for was supportive of women taking maternity leave, and everyone came back after their leave. Sure, some people quit when they get married because they're in a long-distance relationship and have to move away to be with their husband. But few people resign just because they're getting married or pregnant. But I want to keep working. It's fine. I'll provide for us. But still. When I hesitated, Mike let out an exasperated sigh and added, "I'm going to be promoted to sales manager next month. So my salary's gonna be way better. Lucky you, I'm so capable. Now our family will be set." That's great. What could I say to that? It's true Mike is capable, and his promotion must be a recognition of his efforts. Compared to Mike's salary, mine is indeed just small change. Even if I quit, the 3 of us could live comfortably. I convinced myself of that. In the end, I submitted my resignation at work, and a month later, I left the company. My colleagues were all sad to see me go, but when I explained the situation, they said, "Can't be helped. You can't go against the man you're going to marry." That's probably what they meant. I thought that from then on, Mike and I would start our happy days together, thinking about our coming child, but I was naive. It was around this time that I started to notice the changes in Mike. "Hey Madison, where's my dress shirt?" "If it's about the shirt, I'm planning to wash it today." "What? You haven't washed it yet? For a stay-at-home wife, you sure work slow." "I was feeling unwell yesterday. I'm sorry." Once I quit my job, Mike started to say things like, "For a stay-at-home wife, you're pretty slow with the chores." I really want to finish my tasks swiftly, but with the early stages of pregnancy, I've been feeling unwell and can barely take care of myself. He also said things like, "You're so useless, that's why you could quit your job so easily." If it were me, they'd have begged me to stay, belittling my capabilities. Even though it was Mike who wanted me to quit, I'm infuriated by the way he speaks to me. But due to my continued ill health and lack of energy to stand up to Mike, all I could do was hang my head in those moments. Seeing that I didn't fight back, Mike seemed to think he could treat me like a punching bag, venting his work frustrations on me. That guy is totally useless. Just a newbie and already leaving on time. There are too many incompetents in the world. Even the bosses are just old and can't do their jobs. I found all his comments unbearable because they were so disdainful. But now, having quit my job, I had to endure it because he was the only one supporting me and the child. Months passed like this, with me feeling restricted, until I overcame the long period of morning sickness and entered the stable period of my 6th month of pregnancy. I'd like to arrange a meeting to introduce our families for the wedding. Can you check with your parents for their availability? We hadn't yet greeted each other's parents formally, nor had we had a family meet and greet due to my pregnancy, as gathering multiple times would be difficult. So we thought, why not gather both families together all at once? All right. Mike agreed surprisingly readily and immediately contacted his family. I reached out to mine as well, and we found a date that worked for everyone. Eventually, the wedding introduction and family meet and greet were set for 2 weeks later on Sunday. I was preparing myself mentally and physically for the day, but Mike kept ordering me around as if I was using pregnancy as an excuse to slack off on housework. I was never slacking, I was just taking breaks now and then. Why must I be spoken to this way, I wondered, as my frustration built up. Then came the Sunday 2 weeks later. We headed to the event, which would take place at Mike's parents' home due to the large number of attendees. Welcome, Madison. We've been looking forward to meeting you. It's nice to meet you. My name is Madison. I hope to get along well with everyone. His parents seemed kind and classy, which put me at ease. They were very happy when I handed them the flowers I brought as a gift. In addition to Mike's parents, there were cousins, uncles, and aunts. My family was also there, sitting politely in the living room. I stood in the kitchen with my mother-in-law, helping to prepare the meal, and she was constantly concerned about my being pregnant. Are you okay, Madison? If you're not feeling well, you can sit and wait. Thank you. I'm fine for now. I'll take a break if I get tired. Grateful for her concern, I continued to chop and cook. But as she said, after about 30 minutes, my back started to hurt from the weight of my belly. I'm sorry, I need to rest for a bit. Of course. There are cushions over there, please have a seat. Thank you. I sat down on a cushion in the living room, as indicated by my mother-in-law. At first, I had a pleasant chat with Mike's relatives, but then Mike, who had been drinking, came over to where I was sitting. You shouldn't be sitting down before me, being just a wife. As Mike shouted, a dull pain shot through my 6-month pregnant belly. Ow! I crumpled to the floor in a pain I had never felt before. Madison, are you all right? Hey, what are you doing? My mother-in-law and father-in-law quickly came to my aid, but Mike, used to defying his parents, seemed unfazed. In this house, I'm the top dog, you know? I'm the smartest and the elite here. His words were a sneer at everyone present, and though I was filled with anger, I was too afraid of another violent outburst to speak up. At that moment, someone said "excuse me" and sat down next to Mike. I watched intently as he pulled a business card from his breast pocket and handed it to Mike. Huh? What's that, eh? Mike's eyes widened in astonishment as he looked at the business card passed to him from the man. The relatives were all like, "What's going on?" focusing their attention on Mike and the others. Smith General Trading Company. You're familiar with our company, right? I mean, familiar is an understatement. Smith Corp is one of the major clients at our USMK Bank. Good to know. It's an honor. I am Madison's younger brother, a graduate of T University, and currently the president of Smith Corporation. The man was my brother, Kenneth Smith. Smith was my maiden name. I glanced briefly at my brother and parents' faces. My brother was looking straight into Mike's eyes, but I could see the flames of anger burning in his eyes. My parents looked at me and nodded. It's okay. T University. President of Smith General Trading. You're Madison's brother? Yes. You weren't aware of that, I see. I didn't hear about it. This time, Mike glared at me. I instinctively looked away. The reason I hadn't told Mike about Smith General Trading was that I feared his high pride would make him unreasonably jealous. Smith General Trading is a major corporation known to everyone in the States, with annual sales reaching $100 billion. If you get a job there straight out of college, you're considered very capable, and I hear it's even harder to get in as a mid-career hire. Kenneth was the president of Such Smith General Trading. He is still young at 27, but since he was a child, our father had drilled into him how to manage a business, and after graduating from college and joining Smith Corp., Kenneth quickly started to excel. Just as my father began to follow more often and started taking more time off work, a meeting was called to discuss whether it might be best to just go ahead and hand over the reins of the company to Kenneth early. Come this April, Kenneth finally became the president. Well, I didn't need to hear it, but there's something I have to tell you. What is it? Kenneth spoke in a businesslike and polite tone, but Mike continued to act defiantly. In fact, there's been an issue with some fraudulent activities in the transactions between our two companies. Fraud? Mike's voice quivered. Perhaps it struck a chord. Yes. Apparently, our sales manager had given some under-the-table money to your sales rep, encouraging them to fudge the numbers on the invoices. And that sales rep was you. What? Mike visibly panicked. What does this mean? The rest of us, including relatives, waited for the story to continue. You were recently promoted to sales manager, I hear. It was in recognition of your hard work, no doubt. But it's not hard to imagine that this position was attained through rampant dishonesty. Of course, I fired our idiot sales manager immediately, but if I report this to your company, you're not going to get off scot-free. I see. That's what it was. Mike had been accepting bribes from the Smith Company's sales manager by sending falsified invoices. He had increased his sales figures by engaging in similar fraudulent activities with other companies, which led to his promotion to sales manager. While Kenneth's guess was included, the fact that Mike didn't deny it suggested that it was true. Mike trembled on the spot, glaring at Kenneth with eyes like he was looking at an enemy. We couldn't say anything and watched the confrontation with bated breath. Now, you've climbed the ranks through dishonesty, but just from seeing your behavior today, it's clear. You're not cut out to be in a position of leadership. Punching your pregnant wife's belly? Thinking you're the most important person in this house? Don't joke with me. You always ordering my sister around, thinking you're some kind of elite because you cheated your way up? Kenneth's polite tone suddenly turned harsh as he scolded Mike. In his eyes, there was a determination to defeat his sworn enemy. What the hell are you on about? Don't stick your nose where it doesn't belong. Mike snapped back. I clearly saw Kenneth smirk at that response. You just said what the hell, didn't you? Yeah, I did. So what? I don't want to do business with someone who talks that way to a partner. I thought your company would be a good business partner for us, but I was mistaken. Please ensure your company knows that we will no longer be dealing with you in any capacity. What? Mike had not expected to be hit with a sanction as serious as ending transactions between the Smith Company and MK Bank of America. Please, not that. Anything but that. Mike begged desperately, but Kenneth, perhaps at his wit's end with anger, glared and said sharply, Aren't you apologizing to the wrong person? I have no use for someone who can't even understand that. Mike let out a pathetic yelp at Kenneth's shout. I was utterly shocked to see Mike like this. I had never seen him so shaken before. He tentatively looked my way, then said, I'm really sorry. And to the baby, I'm sorry, it must have hurt. But the words Mike had said to me in the past flashed through my mind, and I could not forgive him just because he was apologizing now. I'm sorry, but I need some time to think about this marriage, I refused him. Mike stood up, dazed, and walked out of the room. Silence followed among us, but when Kenneth humbly apologized for the fuss at such a gathering, one of the relatives said, Let's just toast for today, and the atmosphere brightened up. For a while, we all forgot about Mike's troubles and had a good time. Madison, I'm really sorry for what Mike has done. There's no rush on the marriage decision. You can take your time. Madison, to your whole family, I'm truly sorry. Mike's parents said, tears brimming in their eye. Despite having such wonderful parents, I couldn't help but feel sad wondering how Mike ended up the way he did. No, we're the ones who should apologize for causing such a commotion. Everyone, I'm sorry. Just give me a little more time to think, I said. No one in my family blamed me for my decision. My parents' eyes conveyed a message: you need to think this through. As I rubbed my belly, I thought about what comes next. Currently, the idea of marrying Mike doesn't sit well with me. But for the sake of this child. Still, no clear answer came to me. I decided to take my time with the decision. A month has passed since then, and I've decided to stay with my parents until the baby is born. As expected, Mike's misconduct at work came to light, and he was fired. Smith General Commerce, a major client, apparently stopped doing business with Bank of America MK as Kenneth had declared. Mike ended up imposing a great loss on his company and losing his job. But he kept coming to my parents' house every day, begging for forgiveness and saying he'd do anything. You say you'll do anything. But you don't even have a job, do you? Yeah, but I'll find something else, I'll make it work. Please, reconsider, Mike pleaded. Mike suddenly started talking sense, but it's easy to say anything if it's just talk. However, I've heard from Kenneth that Mike's misdeeds have become well known in the area, and companies are tightening their hiring standards to avoid employing someone like him. If I were in charge of hiring, I couldn't imagine hiring someone who had committed fraud at their previous job. It's clear to see that getting rehired isn't as simple as Mike suggests. At best, he might be able to get a part-time job, but I couldn't see how a part-time job could support me, the baby, and him. Not long ago, I was struggling with the decision to marry him, but hearing Mike's flippant ideas, I finally made up my mind. What Mike did is unforgivable. Not only did he harass me, but he also caused trouble for the company that had been paying him a generous salary. He has a significant debt to pay. With a sigh, I spoke up. Look, you think you can just find a job and everything will be okay? Who's going to hire someone like you? I certainly wouldn't. You can't live with us. Don't ever show your face to me again. As I spoke, I could see tears of frustration welling up in the corners of Mike's eyes. What? Why? He muttered, repeating himself as if in a trance, but after seeing my stern glare, he seemed to realize that nothing more he said would make a difference. Eventually, he walked away with slumped shoulders. Finally, I felt a weight lift from my whole body, and I was able to watch Mike's departing figure with a sense of relief. It might be slightly unfair to the child, but it's better not to have such a father. I'll make sure our child is happy. Once the baby is a bit older, I plan to go back to work, maybe dropping the kid off at daycare. Luckily, a former colleague from my old job has reached out, asking if I'd consider coming back. I look forward to the day I can return to work, but for now, I'll take each day at a time with my child.